I'm Keith Barry, and this is the Volvo EX90. It is an all-electric 3-row SUV, and it might look a little like a futuristic version of the XC90 SUV, but it is an entirely different animal. All new, from-scratch design, and it's the first car that Volvo has built as a software-defined vehicle. What it means is that essentially instead of a bunch of little computers and systems around the car that are connected to each other and talk to each other, the whole car is based around one big computer that controls everything. Now, in theory, it's supposed to make things simpler, it's supposed to mean fewer parts, and it's supposed to mean that you can upgrade your car just by downloading some software like a laptop or a phone. In practice, it's been a bit of a disaster. But first, I want to talk a little more about the car that we bought anonymously from a local Volvo dealership. It is an EX90 twin-motor electric plus. The starting MSRP for the Plus is $79,995 with a destination fee of $1,295 and no options, so our total cost was $81,290. Its final assembly point is in Ridgeville, South Carolina. But as it stands, the car isn't quite finished. You see that hump there on the top? That's a LiDAR sensor, and that's supposed to help the car see around it to help with the driver assistance systems. It's revolutionary. It's one of the first cars that has one, but it isn't active yet in terms of helping the driver at all. It's just collecting data. It's supposed to be activated later. We also had a bunch of software glitches. Sometimes the car wouldn't charge, sometimes it wouldn't start, sometimes it would have all sorts of warning lights on the dashboard that would pop up. And as a result, it spent almost as much time at the shop getting fixed as it has at our track. Now, software-defined vehicles aren't new. They tend to be electric cars, and they tend to be from startup manufacturers like Rivian, Fisker, Lucid, even Tesla. And from a startup, we kind of expect them to get some things wrong. But it's a bit surprising for a company like Volvo, which has been around for years and has made its name on stability and safety, to send out a car that is basically unfinished. And that's why we're going to do this review a little bit differently. Now, we're going to get back to the car a little bit later, and we're going to drive it and everything else. But we've had such unique experiences with problems with this vehicle that, we decided to bring in some folks who can talk a little more about it. So I'm joined by Michael Crossan, who's CR's lead auto technician, and Alex Nyzek, our associate director of auto test development. Mike, what has been wrong with this car? Can you in a short period of time tell us what we've had happen? Yeah.
So there's been a bunch of things, and it started from basically the time that we got the car, and it's been back to the dealer a bunch for all of these problems. Some of them have really been addressed, some of them maybe not so much. But we had a problem with the third row seats in terms of not necessarily their folding, they actually worked, but it was the buttons. There's some like ghost buttons, if you will, for things that our vehicle doesn't have, I guess. And those buttons folded the seats, but the seat buttons didn't fold the seats. And sometimes the up was down and down was up. And we played with it enough that it timed out and we could no longer fold the seats. They basically just reset the car and told us to stop playing with the seats a whole bunch and they won't overheat. So that was one thing. That was straight away. But we've had a whole bunch of issues. Lack of audio from the audio system, the navigation, things like that.
I still can't get the radio to work.
So there's a soft reset for the whole infotainment system, and we'll talk about resets here in a minute. We had our third row problem. We had an SRS airbag light on. That was a software fix. That was taken care of at the dealer. The blind spot warning system is a little bit funky in terms of its operation. It does some things that Volvo says is normal. We think it's maybe not so normal. Both key cards have failed. So we've had both key cards replaced. That was 2 separate visits to make that happen. Occasionally, it takes up to 4 minutes to start the car. Volvo also says that's normal. The car has gone into a deep sleep and you have to wake it up. So they said there's no problem there, but we still run into that issue from time to time. It also would not charge once.
That's when I was supposed to take it home and I couldn't.
Had that happen. Yep.
Yeah.
So Volvo reset the vehicle and they told us just to reset the vehicle if that happens. And then we had a pilot assist fault and we had a window issue as well where the driver's window was kind of stuck halfway up, halfway down, move a couple of inches, and that was it. So there's been a host of problems. The window was taken care of. That's been fixed. Everything else, they reset.
I got two more for you. The passenger side rear window has started really squeaking real badly, and the glove box button, one of the glove box buttons works, the second one doesn't.
That's why they give you 2 buttons.
Okay. So how many trips has this been? Because you're the one who has to shuttle this thing back and forth.
Yeah, I have 4 invoices in front of me, but it's actually been 6 times. because in a couple of cases we brought the car down, they had to order some parts or do whatever. So we brought it back so we could, do what we needed to do, and then we brought it back with a fix. So I will say our local dealer has been great.
Yeah.
Very understanding. But unfortunately these software-defined vehicles, I don't know, they kind of just, it's like we put this stuff in the car, but it's software, it's not here yet. And some of the stuff I think they just don't have worked out exactly right. And that's a shame for people that bought the car.
Yeah. Other than maybe the window issue that you mentioned, most of these are software related problems.
Yeah, the window and the key cards, those are the only actual parts that we've replaced.
Right. Maybe the seat's overheating, but it sounds like the software
caused that. Yeah.
Buttons were mapped to the seats incorrectly or however that was operating, right? So it's really them taking the dive into controlling so much of the vehicle with this new layer of software and having the issues in developing and deploying that in the first place.
I know you sent out an email that we all got that was like, all right, here are the steps to reset. You have to have like a key to reset the vehicle.
So there's 6 different types of resets on this vehicle, depending on what kind of issues you're having, how extreme do you go. So I created just a document. I put one in the car. I put one in our electronic vehicle folder, so you could access it on your phone. Unfortunately, that's kind of where we're at with this. The resets do let the vehicle do some of the things it's supposed to do. If you can't charge, you do the particular reset, you can plug it in and charge. It's inconvenient, but it does work.
Now, I know if you're watching this, you probably know Consumer Reports. One of the things we're known for is our reliability scores. And Alex, the issues with our car specifically aren't necessarily going to show up in the reliability score unless other people have them, right?
Yeah, of course.
Can you talk a little bit about how we're going to deal with those?
Yes, you're absolutely right. Like our car is one sample, right? Our reliability is not based on our test car. That would be, too small of a sample size really to base that on it. And it does count for a lot in our scoring. It's very important. So we collect all of that through member surveys, right? We're asking CR members every single year, basically the problems that they have with their vehicles.
And we get hundreds of thousands of responses in total.
Exactly, right. Yeah. So based on just, at this point in time anyway, seeing what other Volvo EX90 owners are experiencing, it does seem similar to what we are experiencing. So it's possible that some of these issues will work their way in, right? Because we do look at software and infotainment systems and whatnot in our reliability score. But the issues, for example, with the seats and the windows that our specific test car had, won't be reflected in its reliability score.
And this car also is going to be different. One thing we learned from Volvo is that, that big central computer that controls everything, they're replacing it.
Correct. Yeah. So there's a central module, and they're telling us sometime early 2026, we should be getting this module, and it will allow a lot of these functions, these software functions, to work better. But yeah, the 2025 car is going to be kind of its own little thing, because the 26 gets that update plus the charging infrastructure and the voltage change and all that kind of stuff. So it's sort of a unique situation, and I don't think we've really seen another car kind of have this.
Yeah, not quite like that.
No. We've seen like Fisker disappear after something like this.
And similar issues, yeah. Right.
Yeah, but we've never seen a car company like Volvo have issues like this.
It's almost like we tend to say don't buy the first model year of a new car.
Excellent advice.
I've heard everyone
that before.
Everyone say that. What are we going to do about testing this once everything changes? Are we going to retest it? Are we going to test the LiDAR when it becomes active? Like what's
I mean, it's
and how are we going to decide that?
Right. Yeah. Well, first of all, I mean, it's a huge bonus that we buy these cars ourselves and we keep them, right? Because we are able to see how it'll change and potentially retest things. So we'll have to, once Volvo tells us and everyone what the details of that, brain change, the brain swap, what that's actually going to change. Yeah, we might have to go back and reevaluate some things and update the scores accordingly, but it does score decently well for the road test.
Yeah.
Ultimately we don't test things when they're broken, I guess, if that makes sense. So if the feature is designed in such a way that it's, has poor usability or something like that, that will work into the score. But if we're having a software issue, we're going to wait until that issue is resolved before we score it and test it. So that's why you'll see the road test score is actually relatively decent. Car is comfortable, it handles well, it's efficient, all those things, right? So these specific software issues aren't necessarily portrayed in the road test score. They'll come out in other ways, like reliability, if a lot of people are having those issues, for example.
But yeah, we only tested it when it was working. Yeah.
That's what it boils down to, right? And same with the window. We're not going to knock if we had a score for windows, we would wait until we fixed the window before we scored it, rather than
100%.
scoring it broken.
So it could be that this could end up being a really great car someday. Just right now, it's a bit of a work in progress, it sounds like.
For sure.
Well, thanks so much for joining. We're going to get back into the car and hit the road and see what it does have to offer. You know, it is a very attractive car. It has those Volvo hallmarks, the Thor's hammer headlights. It has a very sleek, streamlined look. Interestingly, the mirror here, the entire assembly moves when you adjust the mirror, not just the glass, which is fairly unique. The door handles are a bit annoying. They are electronic door handles. You're supposed to use your phone as a key for the car, but if you don't have that set up, there is a key card. But this indentation here isn't where you put the key card. Instead, it's a bit of a red herring, which is appropriate for a Swedish car. Instead, you actually have to put it over here for the door handles to present themselves and for you to be able to open it. And once you're inside, you have to put that key card on a place in the dashboard. Otherwise, the car won't start unless you have your phone as key set up. We found on our car that the key cards didn't always work. We were glad to see that there is no motorized nonsense here. It's just a manual charge port right here, which is very easy to use. The adapter is a J1772, but there is an NACS Tesla style adapter that we have. You can plug it in and charge it at a Tesla supercharger. And as you see here, there's the, that Volvo look with the new taillights that curve around the back of the car and the taillights that go all the way up to the top for better visibility. They've been doing that since the 850 wagons. So if you want to open the trunk all the way down here, you press that and you have a power lift gate. There is not a full-size spare tire here, and you have your charging cable right there. And you have buttons that fold down the third row seats, and they're fairly quick too. The only thing you do have to do is manually fold up these headrests. Let's check out the inside of the car, and I'll show you this interior, which is, I think, one of its strongest points. All right. So this is one of the better interiors I've seen on a modern car. I love the chrome against this white birch. It just looks nice and special. The seats are comfortable. It's also spacious. There's room down here for a purse, a bag, but there's also a little bit of storage in here. I wish there was some more hidden storage, but that's okay. From a control standpoint, it's a bit of a mixed bag. The newer Volvos that we've driven put all of the controls inside of a central touchscreen. One nice thing about the EX90 that the EX30 doesn't have is this screen behind the steering wheel. Something that's a bit annoying are the physical controls or lack thereof. To adjust the steering wheel and to adjust the mirrors, like a Tesla, you have to do it on this large screen. So press this button here and go to driver adjustments, and then you move the mirror. It's the same thing for the steering wheel. It's the same thing for the heads-up display. I think those are things that should just be physical controls in the vehicle itself. One other annoying thing about the car, that like Volkswagen, it only has one set of window controls for front and rear. And you have to press a button to toggle the switches up here between front and rear windows. It's an $83,000 car. They could afford to put in 4 window controls instead of 2 buttons and a toggle switch. The car is Android powered, Google powered. So you have Google Assistant built in for voice assistance. Now it does have Apple CarPlay that you can connect to, but as you can see here, even though my phone is connected, right here it says Keith's iPhone, it's connected as a phone. I used CarPlay yesterday in this car, but today, even though the Apple CarPlay icon is showing, when you press it, it says no device connected. And this is a problem we've been having with the car ever since we got it. In addition, when I turn on the radio, it just doesn't work. The climate control system, in order to change the temperature, you have to go in here and press a button for another menu to pop up. And from here, you can use these relatively small icons to adjust the temperature. There should at least be a way of doing that without having to go into a separate menu. It's the same for the fan and everything else. At least you can adjust the vent direction manually here, but in order to turn the vents on and off, you have to use this screen here. That's enough about the front. Let's head to the second and third rows. The second row is fairly comfortable. There's only kind of a little place to put your feet here because there are relatively large posts that the seats in front sit on top of. But I have back here 2 USB-C chargers. I have heated seats. I have my own climate controls. Interestingly, there is a built-in booster seat here and also a small armrest with a pop-up cup holder. There's also a panoramic sunroof. It cannot be closed. It's supposedly a UV protective glass, but if you wanted it to be closed, there's no way to do that. The rear seats do recline. They also slide, but this is as far back as they go. So let's head to the third row. There are 2 buttons on either side of this pillar here that you can fold down or fold up the third row seats. In order to get into the third row, you pull this here and move this seat out of the way. Now, there are these little plastic doohickeys here behind the seat. Now, they cover a piece of the seat mechanism, but they're right in the way of where you're supposed to step. And I imagine that your least favorite neighbor's kid is going to step right on them getting into the car and break them off. I'm going to get into the back of the car. I'm 5'10", and let me pull this closed. The rake of the trunk means that there is no way that I can get comfortable back here. The only way I can is by ducking my head down like this. It is a third row for children and for being folded down and storing stuff. Now let's get the heck out of here. Aside from all the nonsense and the things that go wrong, driving the EX90 is actually quite pleasant. Our EX90 is powered by dual electric motors and a 111 kilowatt hour battery. Volvo says that it's good for 308 miles between charges, and in our highway driving tests, we found it can actually go a little more than that. The all-wheel drive powertrain is good for 402 horsepower. Now, this 2025 that we're driving has a 400-volt charging architecture, but the 2026 model is going to come with an 800-volt charging architecture, so it's supposed to charge even faster at DC public chargers. For more information about charging and our experiences with it, CR members can head to cr.org and check out the full road test. Now, a lot of EVs with 400 and more horsepower only know one trick. They pin you to the back of your seat when you hit the throttle. And that's not what the EX90 does. It's a very refined powertrain. It's very smooth. Aside from all the nonsense we've had to deal with the car, actually driving it has been quite enjoyable. The steering is a little light, and we wish it had a little more feedback. The suspension is interesting. It does a great job smoothing out big bumps, but it does communicate any little imperfection on the road surface into the cabin. It doesn't unsettle the car, it doesn't jolt you, but it kind of lets you know, hey, here's a bump, hey, here's a little ridge, hey, here's a little divot while you're driving. So that's just something to get used to. But otherwise, it's a serene place to be. Wind noise, road noise, none of it. There's no whine from the electric motor. It's just a very comfortable place to spend some time. Now, if you get too serene on a long drive and start to get a little drowsy, there is a driver monitoring system in the car with dual cameras that make sure that you're paying attention to the road. And unlike some cars that have those setups, doesn't have many false alerts at all. Where there are issues with false alerts are the blind spot warning system, which will sound an alert if someone pulls up next to you, even if the car is stopped. And also the lane keeping assistance system will tug at the wheel if you even get close to a line in a way that is more distracting than crossing those lines. So we wish that Volvo would fix that. Otherwise, there's Volvo's Pilot Assist active driving assistance system. It has 16 ultrasonic sensors, 8 cameras, and 5 radar systems that work together with that LiDAR sensor to interpret the vehicle's surroundings in darkness and in light, and Volvo says that it is precise down to a single centimeter. By now, you already know the LiDAR system isn't active yet, so we haven't had a chance to test it out fully. There's also an interior radar system that can sound an alert if kids or pets are mistakenly left in the vehicle when it's parked. A lot of the issues we've had with this car could have been fixed with a little more time and a little better software. And we think that the software updates that Volvo has promised are probably going to help, and we'll continue checking them out. Otherwise, the 2026 model is going to be getting its new brain and also that 800-volt charging, so it might be wise to wait. But if you want to learn more about this car or its other competitors, of which there are a couple, you can head to cr.org and read the road test of the EX90 and of other 3-row electric luxury SUVs.